Such a great question. You guys are really on it, man. So the answer would be, well, no. I mean, if there's a banking collapse and there's nobody to lend money or lend dollars, let's be more accurate, to lend dollars because dollars go away, right? So what happens is that the bankers go away with it, right? I mean, if they can't see, then the prices start coming down. They start coming down to their true value. Keep in mind, the utility value of houses and real estate is not what everybody thinks it is. It's really not. It's inflated because people have kept borrowing money, and so it creates this ever escalating. It creates a need for an ever escalating increase in home values, nominal, what are called nominal values, or they're fictional values, right? And because there's no way to pay interest back on loans. When a bank loans money, they only loan principal. They don't loan interest. So there's no way to ever actually pay it back. That's why you see so many people always on the bottom of the system. That's why you'll see so many people that are working. They work full time. They work hard, they do stuff, yet they're not getting ahead at all in life. Now, some of it's spending. That's true. This is where I will agree with douchebag Dave Ramsey on this. Yeah, there are some people out there that do just spend crazy, right? But I also know boomers when I was growing up as a Gen Xer, which is why boomers don't usually fuck with Gen Xers too much, because we remember all of them drinking themselves stupid every other day, smoking cigarettes, like just spending money on all kinds of shit. And of course, where I grew up in the poor side of South Seattle, they all had boats as well, right? The poor side of town. These boomers still had boats. So, no, some of it is spending. That's true. There really is the case. But most of it is that there's no way to actually pay interest on debt. So as things continue to escalate in terms of pricing, it locks a lot of other people out who were working. They are working. They are part of the working class. And this is this is not a well understood thing, I think. When we look at the word working class, it's in the name, working class. These are people that have to show up and do something, right? That includes, by the way, doctors. For real. Doctors can't just phone it in. Well, now they can kind of do it with the internet, but they're not real doctors in most cases. Most people who have to show up and do something are part of the working class by definition, okay? Well, those people are also the most essential people, right? Those are the ones that pretty much make society function. They make the world function. They're the ones that are needed to keep all of this going, okay? So where I'm going with that is just trying to explain that those people, they can't always be making enough money to keep up with all of the debt, because the people that are constantly borrowing money, they're creating more and more and more debt. And they have to get that money from somewhere to pay off all the interest, and they get it from anybody that they can. We see this, for example purposes, in the trucking industry. There are so many brokers between a load, so the customer says, I need to have somebody come and pick this load up, right? And then they call a company that they think is a trucking company. It's not. It's a brokering company. That broker doesn't own anything, but they usually owe a lot of money for boats and jet skis and big houses and computers and all this other bullshit, right? They drive 5 or 6 Bugattis, and then they go on the internet and talk about learn how to be a zillionaire brokering freight and drive 5 Bugattis and all that bullshit, okay? They have all that debt, personal lifestyle debt. In other words, spending. Well, they got to pay interest on all that shit. So what do? They just keep constantly lowering the amount of money that goes to the truck owners. The guys who have like hundreds of thousands of dollars that are responsible, into their equipment, and they maintain their shit and they do all the actual work, right? Those guys keep getting paid less and less and less. That's how this works, because there isn't any way to pay any of this stuff off, which is why you're seeing, for example, the people doing all of the work in this world getting paid less and less and less. And then there's this marketing campaign that's put out by a bunch of idiots, by useful idiots. These are people that are, they're useful. They're what the Bolsheviks called, useful idiots. These are people that say, no, you're being paid what the job is worth. Like, no, you're distorting the economy, and then you're just dumping all of this out. This is the shit rolls downhill. You're just dumping this on the lowest spot, and until that goes away. This is this is why you're getting a lot of Atlas Shrugged people. This is why you're getting a lot of guys that are just checking out. They're saying, fuck it, man, I can't make any money, so I'm just going to go do whatever. I'm going to play video games and do nothing. And that's what they're doing. That's why you're seeing so much. And I talked about this in the competency crisis. It's pinned to my TikTok channel that talked about the competency crisis. You can watch that video, and that'll explain a lot of this. But suffice it to say, no, the prices, what would happen is they would fall to actual value, cash value. So I don't mean cash as in dollars. I mean cash value as in no debt. That means that, like, well, how do they get liquidity? They don't. They fire sale it. If you paid $400,000 for a house that in reality is only worth about $4,000, you eat the other $396,000 in losses. Just like if you bought GameStop at the peak, just like if you went and bought a stock at the peak, nobody comes, for whatever reason in real estate, it's weird. And not to belabor this, but like, for whatever reason in real estate, it's like no one can ever lose money in real estate. But if you did the same thing and you bought a bunch of stock at the peak, people would go, dude, what the hell? You're retarded. What the fuck? That's what they would do. They would say, what the fuck is the matter with you? Why would you buy that at the peak why would you do that? But in real estate, if you buy at the peak, if you borrow a bunch of money and buy at the peak, you're not only, you're like entitled to a profit. Now, as a businessman, I don't like the word entitled to a profit, or the phrase entitled to a profit, because that implies that you don't actually have to work for your profit or don't have to earn your profits. You're just entitled to it. And for whatever reason in real estate, there's a lot of people who think like that. Mystifies me, but they're not real business owners, and most of them, wouldn't be able to hold a candle to really the competent guys in a real world scenario. So, I mean, that's just how it works. But that's what would happen. I hope that answers your question.